Welcome to Defining Moments. I'm Suzanne Quast, and a lot of you guys are probably like me. You wake up exhausted every day. Whether I get 5 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep, it doesn't really matter. Exhaustion has become my new norm. Well, I don't want to feel like this anymore, and I am determined to do something about it, which is why I sought out one of the top nutritionists, not only to help myself, but to give you guys and provide you with a lot of valuable information. His name is Kevin Libby. He is owner of PH2 Nutrition, which stands for Performance, Health, and Healing. Kevin helps his clients, whether that's helping shed a couple pounds for the summer, training for the Olympics, prepping for a movie role, or helping heal and manage diseases like Lyme, Hashimoto's, and diabetes. Plus, he's worked with some pretty big celebrities, maybe a Kardashian or two. Today, Kevin's going to talk to us about metabolism, how to heal our bodies through nutrition, and also discuss some myths that are out there right now in the health industry. We have so much information today, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Here are his moments.
Listen as the silence fades, washing darkness.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So one of the things you discussed, when I've met with Kevin now several times, is a defining moment in your past, in your health and nutrition journey. Can you share what that is with everybody?
Yeah, sure. What got me started really was my own nutritional struggles. So I was a collegiate wrestler, always cutting weight. So cutting weight, being very restrictive and overtraining left me very, very, very tired all the time and underperformed. So that put me on, or set me on the path for my quest to really identify what the right way to do it was, because I was underperforming. So I needed energy, I needed strength, I needed stamina to wrestle at the top level, in Division I. So that was where I got my start, and that's over 21 years now. So,
oh, wow. Well, first of all, wrestling I feel like is so dangerous in and of itself. We hear all the horror stories of it. But one of the things you mentioned was metabolism. And I think that's such obviously an important word for people. Right. It determines if they lose weight, gain weight, their energy levels. But you say that you should eat right to help your metabolism.
Correct.
That not everybody is going to be on the same plan, right? And what works for me won't work for everybody.
That's correct.
But with so many diets out there now, between intermittent fasting, keto, Whole30, how does somebody know what diet is best for them?
Okay, so the first thing you have to understand, what is metabolism? I ask my clients when they come in, I said, what define metabolism? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, let's simplify it. It's the body's ability to utilize fat, not just for energy, but utilize fat for all the body's systems, and to utilize fat for energy.
Yeah.
And to replace all the tissues in your body.
Okay.
Okay, so what are the tissues? The bone, the hair, the muscles, the eyes, all the different tissues in the body require nutrients. So we've got to give your body the right nutrients and get your body to utilize fat for all for energy. So how do we determine that? So I do testing. I do proprietary testing in my office, and the testing that we do tells people exactly how their body is, or tells people exactly how their body is responding to nutrients every day.
Interesting.
So it tells me where they're at right now. So it's not their genetic predisposition. It tells me where they're at in their life. So you could be 16 and have an amazing metabolism, but 55 and have the sluggish, no energy. Well, I'm losing my train of thought.
No, it's okay, but I guess my question is let's say somebody doesn't have access to you.
Okay.
Are there certain tests that they can go to another nutritionist or do on their own that could help them then utilize your information to apply it to then what should I be eating?
Well, yeah, so the one thing they should be staying away from first and foremost are just inflammatory things that are going to be causing swelling and inflammation inside the body. So that's number one. So if they don't have access to the proper testing, if it doesn't make you feel good and it's not giving you a proper energy pattern, you feel lousy on it, then it's not going to work for you. So is there any testing they can do? Not that I'm aware of. We are building programs that people can have access, and it will give them information so they can kind of understand roundabout what we do. But normally it's just a one-on-one consultation, so we can really.
So then you said stay away from inflammatory foods.
Yeah.
What are those foods?
Gluten, yeast, refined sugar, dairy, and mold. Those are the foods that cause inflammation inside the body. So damage. So what does damage require? It requires repair. It's a leukocytic response to where it brings T lymphocytes to the area and repairs the tissue. So when the body's being damaged, it needs repair. So we have to put in the right foods that don't cause damage. But really what causes most damage is under eating or improper digestion or not absorbing. So that's what we
One of the
discuss.
things you told somebody that's really close to me is that when she went to go see you, is that you're not fat, you're inflamed.
Yeah, that's right.
And that she was eating every day and eating a lot of food. I mean, but her body was malnourished.
Correct.
And I was like, how is that possible? So can
Right.
you explain those two things?
So right, like so when you might look at somebody like your friend, she was a little bit heavier, but at the same time, so it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. First thing people will think of is their gut and their digestion, but it's not just the gut, it's also on the cellular level. So cell membranes have to be proper so that they can actually absorb nutrients, and then
Say that again,
cell membranes have to be made of the proper materials so they can actually absorb the nutrients. So you could be putting in 3,000 calories a day, but if you're not breaking down, digesting, and absorbing the nutrients, and absorbing them on a cellular level and have the right amount of voltage in the body, that's a whole separate talk, right amount of voltage in the body can't repair itself. So then it constantly stays broken or catabolic. So the muscle's constantly wasting or the tissue's constantly wasting. You'll never repair and you'll just keep getting sicker and sicker. And it's gonna manifest itself as like weight gain. So most people are looking at themselves, they're fat, but it's like not, you're just damaged and inflamed, like I said.
So then at the cellular level and at your gut. So those are the two things you should focus on.
Exactly.
Because gut health is really popular nowadays.
Oh yeah, it's a buzzword everywhere, yeah.
And I've now, I've taken it on myself. I bought a microbiome testing because I want to figure out what's going on with my gut.
Sure.
So the gut we can figure out, right? And that
Right.
comes with just eating non-inflammatory foods.
Yes, first and foremost, stay away from the inflammatory foods, that's first and foremost. And then hydration.
Okay.
Hydration. Everybody's too busy to get in the water, or they are drinking coffee instead of water, but you got to remove the toxins in the body. You've got to give your blood proper viscosity to transport those toxins. So it's hydration, remove the inflammatory foods, and then with the testing, it's going to tell me exactly what the person needs to eat to give them a proper energy pattern. So there's two energy source foods. There's either sugar or fat, or glucose or phospholipids, whatever you want to. Sugar, fat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something else you talked about was, can you give people tips? I understand this is kind of a broad thing, but for certain diets that may work for you or may not. For instance, you said that the keto diet might not work or will not work for people who are on adrenal fatigue and also under chronic stress.
Right.
Why is that? And then can you go over other diets that would be helpful or harmful to people?
Right, so the keto diet predominantly is going to be 70% fat, 20% protein, and less than 10% or less than 25 grams of net carbs a day. When you're putting in all that fat, and it's not just avocado and olive oil, it's saturated fats, it's going to manipulate their hormones and throw things off. Because the fat makes the master steroid, which is cholesterol, and cholesterol is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Okay.
So cholesterol is a master steroid that makes your myelin for your brain and spinal cord, your bile production. Correct.
Okay.
Cholesterol for the cell membranes and all of your stress and sex hormones. So people who are already massively stressed and you're on a ketogenic diet, it's going to throw things off because you're already producing way too much adrenaline, way too much cortisol, and your testosterone, estrogen, progesterone are already out of whack. So when they eat ketogenic lifestyle, which they may or may not lose fat, it's going to throw off their hormones and create more inflammation.
What other diets? What about intermittent fasting? Is that good for everybody?
Intermittent fasting is also not good for everybody. The bottom line is everybody has an energy requirement every single day. So let's say you wake up at 6 a.m. and go to bed at 11 p.m. You have to get your foods in that time every single day. Intermittent fasting was designed for insulin resistance, insulin being a storage hormone.
Okay.
So if you shut the window over the time that you eat, you're not producing as much insulin, so you're not going to store as much fat. But people have a requirement to repair tissue. So get the foods in, but get the foods in that suit you. That's more important. So intermittent fasting is great for some. Again, it's also the stress people, which is about 95% of the country. So stress is intermittent fasting. I don't recommend for everyone.
Okay, that's interesting. Something else you talk about is your body is a hoarder.
Yeah.
It holds on to the things that it needs.
It's what it needs. It's trying to protect you.
So give me an example.
So I had a conversation with a client the other day. I used the analogy of, picture the little kids in Africa. He's like, Biafra? I'm like, sure, Biafra. I'm like, whatever.
Okay.
It's a southern, it's
Okay.
Africa. Anyway, you hoard fat around your middle. Why do you hoard fat around your middle? The body is very, very efficient. The liver's underneath the right lung. It takes that fat and makes it into cholesterol. But why would the body hoard fat around the belly anyway? Because you're under eating, so the body goes into that sympathetic dominant state of fight or flight. Oh my God, there's a white tiger. Oh my God, there's famine. hoard fat, lower metabolism, and hoard it close to the liver so we can make all that precious commodity, which is cholesterol, to make all the nutrients for those different systems. So the body hoards there. Also,
Yeah.
if you don't drink enough water, your body can't maintain temperature. So if you don't maintain temperature, the body will also hoard fat beneath your skin just to maintain temperature. So the body's always hoarding and collecting to protect you.
So if it's hoarding and collecting to protect you, somebody who has the area in here,
Yeah.
what should they then do or be eating to help that?
First and foremost, find out how much you should be eating. So it's not determined by age, gender, weight, like which would be a standard like equation that you do. It's called Mifflin-St. Jean. You should
Come on, wait, you have to slow down. I'm like,
Mifflin-St. Jean. It's an equation. It takes your age, gender, weight, and some other factors, and it gives an estimation of how many calories you need every day at rest. So that's known as your basal metabolic rate.
Okay.
The gold standard in basal metabolic rate is the MetaBreather by Core Technologies. You breathe into the tube for 10 minutes. It measures your carbon dioxide and it tells me how many calories we need to feed you every day. No guessing. So we need to.
so you're saying that all those when you do your basal metabolic rate, that might not be accurate.
Correct. Like we just said, oh, this person's 140 pounds, they need 1,400 calories. Add a 0 to the 140. Or you could take 140 divided by a kilo times 24. That's another way to get it. Not accurate. Because I've had clients, athletes, that their resting metabolic rate was over 3,000.
Oh my gosh.
So if I was to feed them based on their age, gender, and weight, I'd be massively underfeeding them, and they'd get cut from the Packers or whatever team they're playing for.
Okay.
So, so that's no good. I got to be accurate.
So then if you're hoarding here,
That's a telltale sign that you're under eating.
which is crazy, you guys. It means you could be not eating enough
Right.
food.
Right, well-
and you're holding on to it because your body's trying to protect itself because it feels like it might starve.
Right. It's like, oh no, we don't have enough food, hold fat. But the number one thing is when you start becoming catabolic, whether it's tissue wasting, particularly your muscle mass. If you're breaking down muscle mass, cortisol will go up. Cortisol is the body's natural anti-inflammatory. When cortisol goes up, thyroid function comes down. So there's not like hypothyroid. You don't have anything wrong with your thyroid. It has everything to do with you're under a stress state chronically.
So for me, I was diagnosed with a underactive thyroid.
Correct.
Which seemed odd because I don't, I exhibit the signs in feeling fatigued and exhausted, but I don't, I'm not gaining weight.
Right.
So you're saying it actually could be because I'm under adrenal fatigue and stress.
Your adrenals are just shot, right? The cortex and the gland, it's produced too much adrenaline, it's produced too much cortisol, and they're just kind of like, all right, we need to shut down, you need to take a vacation. Then it becomes less about
Hear
nutrition.
that? I need a vacation.
More about meditation, more about grounding, more about, breathe. Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings up disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about that all disease stems from deficiency or toxicity.
Correct. You're a good student.
I really
You're a
studied.
good student.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was a really good student in school
Right,
too.
right.
So tell me about that. What does that mean for people?
So when you're in a state of dis-ease, that means your body's just reacting to external stimulus. It's reacting the way it's supposed to. For example, high blood pressure. Why would your body increase pressure? There's nothing wrong with your arteries, right? The body's increasing pressure because it's trying to filter out toxins inside your blood. So it increases vasopressin or angiotensin, and it wants to get those toxins out. Okay, so why would there be high blood pressure? Your body's constantly catabolic. There's all this insulin in your blood. It's damaging your arteries. And when the arteries are damaged, it's like, okay, let's get rid of this. Let's excrete these toxins. So what is that a deficiency of? In this particular case, it might be, or toxicity in this case, might be too much sugar, refined sugar, processed sugar. Sugars are not necessarily bad. People always talk about fruits, too much sugar. I'm like, it's got sugar, fiber, water, and it slows down the release of glucose, but you go and have some sort of candy bar, and it's gonna spike your insulin. The endocrine system has no idea how much insulin it should send, so it sends a whole bunch, and it starts causing damage in your arteries, and your body wants to get that out of you, so it increases pressure to remove the toxins. So what do we really need to do? We need to be eating whole foods, remove the inflammatory foods, so the body will find health and homeostasis. So that's number one. And then so like all things that stem from disease, it's all Hippocrates, by the way. All things stem from the gut. So if we have epithelial dysfunction, which is the intestinal tract, actually breaks holes in it. It's known
Is that
in
like leaky gut?
Leaky gut, yeah. I always thought that was a parochial term. But at the same time, yes, it's known as leaky gut in Eastern medicine. But yeah, then foreign proteins get in the body and it triggers your immune system. Once your immune system's triggered, then it kind of stays hair triggered. And from my own study and all my clients, the thousands of clients I've worked with over the years, females are way more sensitive than males, and mothers are way more sensitive than just not mothers. So they're much more sensitive, so that damage can occur very quickly. And with our toxicity of our food processing, not, genetically modified foods, or what else? I mean, we live in LA. With the LA air, we have, there's so many all this toxic, all these toxic things in our environment is going to keep triggering everything. So at least what we can do nutritionally is remove those toxic foods and hydrate to remove some of these toxins, so that we can actually process nutrients properly and repair our tissues.
So if I have a, insert disease
here.
What can I do to actually help myself nutritionally to help heal my body?
Okay, first and foremost, we start you on an anti-inflammatory diet.
Which is?
Which is removing the yeast, gluten, refined sugar, dairy, mold, and then there's some other things too. Kick up your hydration, stabilize an energy pattern that suits you. So we do the tests, we stabilize an energy pattern that suits you, but first and foremost, heal up that gut. Heal up that gut and give you the proper fats in your body that you actually make the proper cell membranes. It takes time, but the body will heal itself. And then you'll notice the disease, which is only a collection of symptoms, you'll notice the symptoms all going away. Wow. If I have a nickel for every time if I heard from people they are no longer on antihistamines or allergy medications within 3 weeks of doing the program, it's amazing.
That's incredible.
Less gas, less bloat, no more diarrhea, constipation, reflux, GERD, and it's just like commonplace.
So your diet is sort of like a paleo-esque alkaline diet.
I would say that, yeah.
So if somebody out there is like, well, I don't know what that means.
Right.
I mean, yes, I can avoid these foods, but if that's sort of then the diet they lean more towards, they're going to then have more or less inflammation.
Correct.
And have better gut health, and then therefore have better health overall.
Exactly, and then the body will will regulate, and everything will just be back to normal. It just takes time. We live in a society now where it's, I want everything now. We have Uber Eats. What's another one?
Postmates.
Postmates. So they come in, they're like, make me skinny now. It's like, okay. I show them a list of these are how long it takes each tissue. So like arthritis, it takes about 4 months for cartilage to regenerate. You know what I mean? But first things first, you're usually on Advil or they're on Tylenol for the pain. You got to get off that stuff. Why do you have to get off that stuff? It causes blood clumping. It causes you don't produce prostaglandins to actually create the cartilage. So we have to get you off that stuff just so your body can actually start to repair itself. But I don't even remember the question anymore.
Well, let's discuss some myths right now because we're short on time.
Gotcha.
One of the myths that people talk about is calorie restriction, and that you have to have caloric restriction in order to lose weight. You say that doesn't have to be the case.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and there'll be so many PhD nutritionists around the world that will condemn me for saying this, but you do not have to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. And I will receive so much flack for that, it doesn't matter. And I'd be willing to take the Pepsi challenge with anybody and prove it to you with over 5,000 blood chemistries and files in my office. You can be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, but it doesn't mean you should be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. What we want is metabolic efficiency. Efficiency in energy systems. Cell membranes, DNA, mitochondria, and your muscles. Those are the energy systems of the body. We want them to be efficient so that your body will burn fat and build tissue.
Got it. Yeah. So it's not always, because the one thing you hear is it's calories in versus calories out.
Right.
So you're saying that's not the case?
That's not the case. It's one way, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. And you say there's no bad cholesterol, and you touched on this. This is a big one.
This is a huge one.
I tell my fiance this, and I can't get him to believe me.
Right.
And so tell him.
So there's total cholesterol, HDL, LDL, triglyceride fat. Okay, so HDL is considered the good cholesterol. I call it the anti-inflammatory. It's a protein that transports cholesterol back to the liver. The LDL is what makes all those different, like the hormones and the bile, and it's raw material, okay? Now, there's a small particle that hangs out with LDL. And unless you use a nuclear magnetic resonance test to see the small particles, if your LDL is high, it means absolutely nothing. So if we want to look at the small particles and they're there, they're only there because you're missing, and this is Linus Pauling's work, and I can cite it for you later. Linus Pauling, the arteries are damaged from inflammation, oxidative stress and damage. So the arteries get damaged, And the cholesterol transports this little particle that binds lysine and proline to make new arteries. The thing about it is when you're deficient in amino acids, and particularly vitamin C is the cofactor, your body will take calcium and the little particle and patch up the artery. This is called atherosclerosis, right? But it's not the LDL cholesterol that's the thing. So everybody's on these statin drugs to lower cholesterol, but it's knocking out all the good stuff, and it's really not improving your heart health, okay? And like I said, we can argue this all day and all night. Cholesterol is not bad. The reason why the body elevates cholesterol, because it needs it.
So you're saying eat more cholesterol.
Oh, that's a good no. It's not
Right,
eat more, it's eat enough, not necessarily eat more cholesterol. Because if you don't eat enough, you're damaged. And if you're damaged, your body will hoard and collect to protect you.
Whoa.
Whoa.
All right, one last thing, mind blown. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of comments on that.
Yeah, I hope so.
But is gluten really the enemy? End on that.
To some people, yes, gluten is terrible. It's a daisy-chained amino acid that will rip those holes in the gut, okay? And it will produce what's called zonulin and open up the tight junctions in the tissues. So for some, it's the devil. For some, it's not an issue at all. I think collectively, we've given it so much hype that people are believing the hype. So,
But don't you think that gluten causes inflammation, the root of like what inflammation
can.
causes disease, and
It
therefore
can.
people should overall maybe
right. But
not-
I remember 10 years ago, I never knew, I was like, what's gluten? Technically, it means glue in Latin. That's what it means. And I believe it's a hybrid of the gluten that was like bred up in the mountains, and they bred it with our wheat, rye, and barley. And that's the issues here. You could go over to Europe right now and have a slice of bread and you're fine.
So it's the way that we make it here in the States.
I think
That's the process.
I think it's America.
America.
I think it's America. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Where can everybody find you? Tell them his plan's amazing. I'm doing it, and I will let you guys know in 3 weeks' time how I feel.
You can find me at www.ph2nutrition.com or on Instagram at ph2nutrition or on Facebook, ph2nutrition.
Go follow him for tons of tips. Reach out to him. He's the best. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.